Guide would not be in the position it is today without each of the three research infrastructures we have represented on the stage here. We, as a project team, have learned so much from these other projects and individuals. They've shown us the way. They've shown us how we can go about building our research infrastructure, and we've learned so much from them. So it's very much that we are partly a product of the people that we've been working with. They've been part of projects that we've had funding for, and at every turn we will ask their advice as to how we should be and could be taking the research infrastructure forward. So we always talk to each other and get together, and it's important for us to keep that level of communication high. So let me just introduce each of the members of the panel that we have here. I'm afraid Jenny Simons, who would have been on the panel, had to rush off. So Guide actually is represented by me now. But in no particular order, we have Rory Fitzgerald, who's the director of the European Social Survey, ERIC. And we have Radim Bohacek, who is the head of SHARE in Czech Republic, Czechia. And we have Letizia Mencarini, who is a representative from the GGP. And so what we're going to do here is have a short introduction from each of these our representatives. And I'm going to ask them each in turn to say a little bit about the research infrastructure they represent, and for them to tell us a little bit about how they got started. So, Rory, over to you first.
Hi, Gary. Thank you very much for the introduction. So I'm Rory Fitzgerald, Director of European Social Survey, ERIC. Maybe I'll take the first question first, actually, the second question first, rather, how we got started. So ESS was very much a bottom-up project. It came about because scholars, particularly in sociology and political science, were finding it difficult to make comparisons using existing cross-national data. When they came to look at the cross-national data sets, they often found them poorly documented, based on very different sampling procedures, not very good translation procedures, and sort of quite poor question design. And so scholars came together through the European Science Foundation and made the case for an input harmonized cross-national social survey. And I was very pleased to hear from Gary that Guide tends to go down the input harmonized route, because I think it's quite difficult sometimes for cross-national surveys to stay like that. So I think that's really, really important to hear. Once they'd come up with the idea for the ESS, there was a blueprint that was written, and then the European Commission provided some funding for the central coordination of ESS, and the countries paid their own national funds. And we've been doing the survey every 2 years since 2002. So things were a bit different for us. We were up and running, and then later on, we became a formal legal infrastructure, an ERIC. That happened in 2013, so it's almost 10 years ago that we became an ERIC. And we now have a model where we work through the European Research Infrastructure Consortium. So the 28 members of that organization provide us with the funding for the central coordination of the project, about 2.6 million euros a year. And then each country funds its own national coordinator and fieldwork for those surveys that we do every 2 years. So that's how we got up and running. It was a different kind of route to you, because when we started, originally there were no ERICs or legal structures, so things have changed. A little bit about the ESS itself. So it's a general cross-national social survey, so it has many different topics rather than a kind of single focus. First of all, it's questionnaire, which is about an hour long, has 2 parts. A core questionnaire that stays the same more or less in every round, has crucial topics like democracy, trust, religion, well-being, health, and very detailed demographic information as well. And then an open competition that happens every 2 years, where teams of academics bid together to design part of the module. And if there's anyone here who's interested in putting a team together. That call will open actually in January, so please look out for that. The fieldwork itself was always conducted in a single mode of data collection until the last round. That was face-to-face in-home surveys. Actually, in the early rounds, it still involved paper and pencil collection as well as CAPI, but eventually it became a complete CAPI survey. And lots of focus on high quality methodology. So a lot of focus on the sampling to make that equivalent between countries, even if you're using a different sampling frame. Advanced translation and questionnaire design processes that take sort of many months or years to do. Careful fieldwork quality control, working jointly between the centre and the national teams. And really a lot of focus as well on the archiving and building that archiving in to the central team. So we don't just get to the end and send the data archive our data. We work with the archivists sort of from the beginning to the end of the process. Data access, over 200,000 registered users of the data since we started making it available, many of whom are students, about 2/3 of those are students. And that's resulted in about 6,500 publications. Just over 1,000 mentions of ESS in the media, sort of every year. And also quite a lot of focus on policy impact as well. So I'll leave that there just as a general introduction. Pass on to my colleague.
Thank you. So I'm here to talk about SHARE, the Survey of Health, Aging and Retirement in Europe, which was founded in 2004. I was too young to be there, so it was 12 initial countries. And also, the idea very often in Europe comes from across the ocean or from England. So SHARE was modeled, intentionally harmonized with HRS, the Health and Retirement Survey in US, and ELSA in England. So that was important to be really harmonized across other data surveys. So for Guide, if there is a US survey which you can harmonize to, that would be the first. That's how we started, right? So that maybe it's a good advice. Initial SHARE is a panel survey. The survey is every 2 years. Each country is supposed to maintain 5,000 respondents aged 50 years and more. Today we have 27 countries plus Switzerland and Israel. Initially, SHARE was financed mostly or exclusively from EU grants. And now, of course, everything is decentralized. So now each country has to finance itself, its own field work, which is very hard to coordinate. So well-running administration and management is very important. For the content, we still till today we are trying to be harmonized with US, England, and other surveys like in China, India, Mexico, aging surveys around the world. The core interview every 2 years is complemented with additional parts like national special drop-offs. We have a life history questionnaire, which is extremely important, interesting source of data, linking 50 years old people to their childhood and their life history of experiences and events. We want to collect biomarkers and objective measures, because all this, so SHARE is a CAPI survey, and we were adding biomarkers, accelerometry, physical measurements, and all these objective measures to add to the subjective data, which is important for lots of scientific fields which have a hard time with subjective data. Probably we try to be kind of more hard data oriented. That's maybe because we were, as HRs, were funded mostly by economists. So it's more like data-oriented, what you see today, what Gabriela was presenting. So that's maybe one distinction to what Guide is or will be collecting. For the future, times are changing. We need to be flexible, modern, experimental, innovative. We want to. We also have Marcel as our data guru, and what he was showing today, we want to do, and that's the plan: to use very different, flexible tools for field work, and maybe that's enough from me, and I can answer some questions if you want later.
Thank you, Radim. So Letizia, over to you.
Okay, so thanks for this invitation. I'm here as a representative of the international board of consortium board, in particular of GGP, where Bocconi, that is my university, is represented, but also as a working package coordinator of a project that should lead at the end of GGP as ESFRI infrastructure, since Generation and Gender project was included in 2021 ESFRI roadmap with Guide, exactly. Here we have also Vitenis Demantes, who is the infrastructure manager, so maybe he can help me to answer to some question later. But also I'm as a national coordinator of the new GGP survey that will be done in Italy with the funding and coordination of CNR, or National Research Center, within a project funded by PNRR. Generation and Gender project is a social and international infrastructure for research on population, mainly. So it started in 2000 under the umbrella of United Nations, or UNECE, and is a comparable and multi-purpose survey. So it has several subject address, all with the idea to address demographic challenges, mainly across Europe, but not only. So far, 30 countries have participated, mainly Europe, but also Latin America and Asia. Demographic challenges by fertility and aging are really the target of these surveys, who collects data on people, young people and adults. So originally was from 18 to 79. Now in some country, exactly for the collaboration with the other infrastructure, for instance, share, we agree on decreasing the upper bound to 59 because the elderly people are already well covered and we don't need that. So the first, in a sense, is the inheritance of the 1990s family and fertility surveys. The first families or GGS1 that has in some country 1 wave, in some country 2, in some country 3 waves was done around 20 years ago. And nowadays in the 2020s, there is GGS2. Already 18 countries have done that. There are data available for 10 of them, and the new country will be added. So the idea is, of course, to have a comparable questionnaire, a core questionnaire. However, there is also a little bit of space for specific question in each country, recognizing the specificity on, especially on the matter of family and fertility, that they can be nationally. It's a research-driven questionnaire because there is a leading group, a group of leading scientists who study which kind of question ask and how to ask. As a panel design every 3 years. A central coordination and NIDI in the Netherlands that assure also the quality of data and the collection of data through the same system. The main, I would say, approach is really the life course. So these keywords is very important, and the idea is really to gather and connect what are the transitions through different part of the life course.